All right, it's Sunday, February 11th. I'm in Kaohsiung, Taiwan, having just arrived a couple of days ago from Cambodia. And I've gotten a boatload of inquiries from people wanting me to compare and contrast the business environment, population, and so forth, Cambodia versus other Southeast Asia countries. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. Appreciate people wanting my opinion, and so here it goes. Cliff note version. Um, and most of this stuff you could probably look up on the internet. I haven't, but those that are interested in comparison should, it'd be advised to do that. It's more of an authority than I'll ever be. At either rate, Cambodia's got, I think, about 16, 17 million people. For the most part, the population was decimated during the Pol Pot regime, and you can check out plenty of videos online about that. But it's about 16, 17 million folk. In comparison, Laos is about 7.5 million. Myanmar, I think, is about 50 million, 53 million. Thailand's about 71 million. Vietnam's pretty close to 100 million, probably about 97, 98 million people. Vietnam, as most people will know, have been visited by everybody from the Chinese to the French to the Americans. Cambodia, similar influence, but not to that extreme. Although they still suffer much of the consequences of various invasions, both internally and externally. It was interesting when I was there a week ago, and I've been going for 15 years now, better part. GDP is just exploding. If you take a look at the highest growth countries in Asia projected for 2023, 2024, Cambodia is number one at about 6.2, 6.3% GDP expectation. And you can see it. There's a lot of what I call hot money. A lot of money coming in from China. A lot of money coming in. Sorry, I got to reach over and get my coffee. A lot of money coming in from Korea, Japan, Taiwan, but specifically China. Some of the advantages that I find in Cambodia: American dollar, widely accepted, easy to bank, easy to retire to. Extremely easy to retire to. Cost of living, half of what it is in Thailand. Bangkok, for example, versus Phnom Penh. English widely spoken. Very young population. Mekong Delta, as far as waterways, is somewhat. I don't want to say landlocked because you've got the Mekong, but you don't have huge ports except down in, or a wide variety of port options, I should say, except down in the Sukhumvit, Kampot area. So you've got to use the Mekong as an artery to transport goods versus Vietnam, which is right on, plentiful ports from Hanoi to Ho Chi Minh and so forth, all the way down the coast. Vietnam is much more expansive than Cambodia, as is Thailand as far as landmass. But Cambodia has some incredible advantages. Number one, it's a Buddhist country, and so there's a certain level of peace and harmony that's founded on religion. And beliefs, no matter what you believe in. And Vietnam is somewhat similar. And so those two countries have a foundation that doesn't exist in other areas of Asia, frankly speaking. China as an example. And so there's a certain probity, there's a certain commonality, there's a certain unity of the people that brings. And it really is evident when you visit Cambodia. Infrastructure-wise, it's grown by leaps and bounds. Not at the level of Thailand. Highway system is still being established, but it's improving quite a bit. And I'm speaking about the areas around Phnom Penh, Siem Reap, Bada Bang, which is a great area, by the way. Medical care, both are very good. Give the nod certainly to Thailand. FV hospital in Ho Chi Minh, Hanoi's got some great hospitals. Cambodia, okay for the average stuff. I'm not certain I'd have hip replacement or brain surgery or heart surgery there, but as far as the basics go, they've got it covered. Frankly speaking, ease of lifestyle. Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, somewhat commensurate. I'd give the nod probably to Thailand, just for my appetite as an older guy. I don't like the traffic, but the transportation options, if you're in Bangkok or abouts, are a lot more wide and varied than they are in Cambodia. Yeah, you can get around with buses, and yes, you can get around shuttles, but there's taxis, there's tuk-tuks everywhere, but you don't have the train options. You don't have certain internal infrastructure options that you have in Thailand. Underground train, overhead train. A network throughout the country that is established as much as you have in Thailand that you don't have in Cambodia. Vietnam is getting there as well. They're just putting in the train downtown, and so that's an emerging area as well. There's a lot of hot money coming into Vietnam as well. Vietnam and Cambodia must lead the league in hot money. I've never seen so much foreign direct investment. And what I mean by that is you've got some really high-end hotels, half a dozen of them, from Raffles to Marriott to the Ritz-Carlton going in right across the street from Ben Thanh Market in Vietnam. You have similar, but not at the scale of that yet in Phnom Penh in Cambodia, but I suspect that entire riverfront area is going to just boom. Comparing it to Thailand, now that Thailand has legalized, certain recreational affairs, emphasis on weed, close the emphasis. The only thing they're missing is gambling. Once the casinos move into Thailand, that place is going to go nuts. It already is going nuts as far as hotels and entry backlogs and all that. I spoke with a lady when I was in Bangkok recently, who owns a bed and breakfast. They're booked for a year and a half. Which I thought was really interesting in and of itself. They are booked out a year and a half. Cambodia is getting more and more crowded. And so people are discovering Cambodia. Again, with GDP going to be at about 6.2%. It's real easy to bank there. Super easy to open up a bank account if that's what you so choose. It's a lot easier there than in Vietnam or even Thailand. It's not that it's difficult in Thailand. It's just that the residency requirements are a little bit more stringent in Thailand than they are in, or limitations are a little bit more than they are in Cambodia. Cambodia is pretty simple for expats, especially Americans, to retire to and live, and you can live a great life there. You can have a really good time, depending upon your proclivities, your cost of living will be dependent upon your standard of living. If you're into a lot of extracurricular activities, and it's going to be reflected in your cost of living, and reverse. For me, I'm pretty boring, and so I could make it there for probably less amount than the average expat, because I don't engage in a lot of costly extra activities. But I do like to tour around. I do like to take in the temples, and I'm forever going to markets and buying things that I don't need. So as long as I can manage myself in various affairs, or the average person can manage themselves in various affairs as far as extracurriculars, then you'll do just fine. Vietnam, certainly a lot of manufacturing moving there from China. A lot of high tech, a lot of specialized instrument type manufacturing from Japan, a lot of consumer product companies moving to Vietnam. There's a lot of tax incentives that are at play, especially on the outskirts, the provinces outside of Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi. You get an hour and a half, 2 hours outside of Ho Chi Minh. There's a number of different incentive programs that are available. Certainly, the environmental side of things are catching up. So there's restrictions on contaminants, which is real good. Like PVD, plating, and things like that. Tanneries. Anything that exposes water to a lot of contamination, they're really spending a lot of time on making sure that things are, up to par in Vietnam. Cambodia, it's still very much soft goods related. What I mean by that is garment, bags, that type of manufacturing. You don't see a lot of silicon wafer manufacturing as you might in Vietnam, and you don't see a lot of heavy-duty manufacturing, industrial manufacturing in Cambodia yet, as you would in Vietnam. What you do see is a lot of repetitive manufacturing in Cambodia. So that, what does that mean? That means cut and stitch type manufacturing. So there's a lot of that type of manufacturing in Cambodia. We have a bag factory there. When I was on my way to our factory, we must have passed half dozen to a dozen garment manufacturers. Not to say that doesn't exist in Vietnam. There's a lot in Vietnam as well. A lot of furniture manufacturing as well in both places, probably more in Vietnam. Again, Vietnam's 5 times bigger as far as population, 100 million versus 20 million, give or take, in Cambodia. And so Vietnam is much more expansive and a lot more experienced in what I'll call commerce than Cambodia. Again, I want to be very sensitive, though. I mean, a large percentage of the population got wiped out in Cambodia from Pol Pot and various internal struggles. And so I want to be sensitive. Again, they're growing. Cambodia is growing at about a 6.2, 6.3% projected GDP. Very, very rich in minerals, which is why a lot of countries are interested in Cambodia, especially the Chinese. If you go to the northeast part of Cambodia, beautiful gemstones, just simply marvelous. And so, just to give you an idea, the landscape is as you go north and to the northeast, what I've viewed and read about is that it's just gorgeous terrain. I don't know how else to say it. It's very historical. Some beautiful mountains. You want to be careful, obviously, along the border because there's still live munitions that were buried, that were plastic, that come up during rainy season, and unfortunately, very unfortunate that innocent people, often the case, are the ones that are hurt. And that still goes on in Cambodia and along the Vietnam border. And so you want to be very cognizant of that if you go out trekking in the forest, especially along the border area. You want to be extremely, extremely cautious. But that's, Cliff Note version, that's my take. I mean, the top 2 fastest growing economies in Asia, number 2 is Vietnam, and just slightly ahead of Vietnam is Cambodia. So if you're looking to grow, be in a growth environment where there's a lot of foreign direct investment and where the infrastructures are maybe not as settled as your home country, but certainly amenable. You could do a lot worse than Cambodia and Vietnam. That's my take. If there's any questions from you folks, just let me know and I'll do my best. Again, the authority is not. I'm not an authority by any stretch. I'm just a guy who travels there quite a bit, it is what it is. I mean, experience is the best way to go about things versus necessarily reading things on Google. You can get an apartment. You can live in Vietnam, probably $400 or $500 a month easily, and have a decent place. In Cambodia, Phnom Penh, probably $200-300 if you get just slightly outside the city, just as a comparison. Electricity is expensive in Cambodia, and it can get expensive in Vietnam. So electricity can be a thing. They're more wired in a lot of ways than places are in the United States. Mobile service is decent, and it's very, very reasonable. Food, I mean, it depends upon where you want to eat. But for me, you can go to a food stall and get a better meal quality-wise than you would at a five-star restaurant. So it's all relative. But I find you could survive on $3, $4, $5 there easily. I don't eat as much, but a big old bowl of soup, pho, is a buck. And then you can get chicken, eggs. I think a dozen eggs were $1.50 to put it into context. Meat, poultry, steak, beef, lamb. I mean, they've got everything that you'll get in the States. If you want to spend a lot of money, go out and eat fast food, because that's the biggest ripoff going. I mean, why somebody would do that is beyond me, both in Vietnam, Thailand, and Cambodia. If you're going to eat fast food, eat the local fast food, because it's a lot better for you, much more nutrient. In fact, if you go to the Russian market in Phnom Penh or Central Market, you can get some of the best vegetables I've ever had in my life as far as the nutrition value. Same as in Vietnam. So point being, food is readily available, and it's fresh, and it's inexpensive. And what else? I think that pretty much covers the basics. Healthcare, excellent in all three areas. I'd give the nod to Thailand, then Vietnam, then Cambodia. But all three of them, you can get the basics covered. Anything beyond that, I'm other than Thailand, I can speak with experience. I would have certain serious ailments undertaken in Thailand. Probably wouldn't in Cambodia or Vietnam. But I would in Thailand, especially at Bumrungrad. And not only would I have. So I have experience, and I have multiple years of experience. You cannot beat Thailand for medical care. Same as here in Taiwan, in fact. It's excellent. So unless you have a very specialized need, with a specialized surgeon somewhere in the world, you can get things pretty much covered in Thailand. Cambodia probably wouldn't have a hip replaced, probably wouldn't have heart work done there. I'm not saying that it's not done. I'm just saying I probably wouldn't do it. Thailand, I wouldn't even flinch about going to Bumrungrad, for example. Wouldn't even think about it. I'd be more nervous about going to Scottsdale Memorial than I would going to Bumrungrad. Put it into context. So medical, very, very affordable. In fact, I went to a doctor there, and it was $4. That was only eclipsed by here in Taiwan, in the sense that I pay for it with my taxes, so it's free for the most part. Now, what I pay $5 here for a doctor visit, and the prescriptions are free. The complete blood work was free. I had an MRI, that was free. Doctor telling me about the MRI results, that was free. So you can't beat free. But I pay for it in my taxes here in Taiwan, and my taxes are very reasonable here, by the way. And I don't have to worry about bills showing up 6 months, a year and a half later, wondering, where did this come from? I don't have to worry about any of that here. So there's advantages to medical care in Asia that go beyond reproach, as far as comparing it to the nonsensical medical care, not care, but the billing and all that you go through in the States. Give you a short little story. I had a tetanus shot. I got scraped at the factory. Went into the doctor, and they gave me the cost, everything right up front. So I knew exactly what I was paying. I knew exactly what it was going to cost. It was $4, which was comical, because they probably spent a half hour going through the bill with me, literally making sure that I understood that I was going to have to pay And I'm thinking, well, how much can a tetanus shot be? So after they went through the entire monologue of breaking down why they needed to give me the shot, and what the shot consisted of, and what the side effects were, and why they have to charge, and I hope you don't mind, but you don't have insurance, and so we're going to have to charge you. And I'm thinking, well, how much? How bad can this be? It was $4. It was literally $4. So just to put it into context, and they felt really bad about it, and I'm like, well, hey, it's no problem at all. I'm just appreciative to have the service. So it was my point being is that you can walk into pharmacies, and if you need Cipro or azithromycin, or if you need blood pressure medicine, it's all name brand from Pfizer or Merck. And you can get it, without a prescription. So if you're on Lipitor, or you're on, blood pressure medicine, or whatever your ailment may be, it's real easy to go in and get, your prescription from home refilled without a prescription in Asia. You can do it in Thailand, Cambodia, or Vietnam. So your prescription requirements may be easily taken care of, managed, without going to a doctor, and him simply sitting there taking your blood pressure, sticking out your tongue, and saying, okay, well, we'll give you another 3 months or 6 months or 12 months of refill on a prescription, and then 6 months, 8 months, 12 months later, you get a bill for $400 for visiting your local doctor. Do all that by just going to a pharmacy and walking in and getting what it is that you need. If you need to go see a doctor, it'll cost you less than $10 to walk in, see a doctor. Here it's $5 in Taiwan. I think in Vietnam it cost me, I don't know, I think it was $8. Thailand, I think is a little more. It was like $12, $15, depending upon where you're at and where you go. But you don't really need it if you're just getting a prescription refilled. And so for the common cold, you want to go and get something for bacterial infection, or there's not much you can do for viral. But any type of antibiotic you can get. I mean, I'm not certainly suggesting that you self-medicate, but if you've gone to the doctor and you've got a long-lasting prescription and you simply need it refilled, it is very, very, very accommodating to be able to just walk into a pharmacy, get what you need, and you're out. I had an experience here in Taiwan very recently where I wanted to have some blood work done. Didn't have an appointment. Went over and saw Dr. Ma at 11 o'clock in the morning, and by 11:30, I had seen the doctor, had blood pressure checked, had blood drawn, a complete blood count, had the results right there. 10 minutes later, they did the results right in the office. Got my results. Had him refill a prescription just because I was there. Went next door, got my 2 prescriptions that are legacy prescriptions. I take them all the time, and I think I was out the door for 150 NT, which is $5. So that's I don't have to worry about future billing. I don't have to worry about co-pays. It's $5. That was it. That was the total bill. Was $5. I had an MRI done and it was free. Just to put it into context, free. That means out of pocket nothing, other than paying for the medical care in my as part of my pay. I have a percentage of my salary broken out by 5-6 different countries, and so I pay the percentage here in Taiwan goes for my medical. A certain percentage of my pay goes for medical, and it's very inexpensive. I get more than what I pay. Which is bizarre, but that's the way it goes. So, comparison, Vietnam, Cambodia, 2 very, very high growth countries, 6 point whatever GDP projection for this year, 2023. Highly recommend going there. Hour flight from Ho Chi Minh. what is it, hour and a half, 2 hours from Hanoi to Phnom Penh, and a little over an hour from Bangkok to Cambodia. You can fly Anchor Air. There's all manner of airlines that go into Phnom Penh. Easy to get in and out of. Can't find a cab, just take a tuk-tuk. Hotels, everything from $20, $15, $10 on up to $500. I prefer the Raffles and the Sofitel. I'm old. I need creature comforts. My days of Lonely Planet traveling have been over for many, many, many years. I don't do that anymore. And so I need some creature comforts, but I'm spoiled. A lot of people don't have that, inclination. So you can trek it. I would highly recommend getting out of Phnom Penh and Siem Reap and going up to Kep or down to Kampot. Those are good times. Go up to the northeast part of Cambodia. That's beautiful. Do some gemstone, reconnaissance. You can get some great gemstones there. Quartz, granite, beautiful links. And so I picked up Michelle, my wife, some nice stones there. So I'd highly recommend it. Good times by all. Take a look at your Google and enjoy it, but understand that Cambodia is growing like weeds, as is Vietnam, and they're going to be the beneficiaries of companies leaving and departing China, as is India. So India is probably in the top 5 as well as far as growth areas. But you can't go wrong with Cambodia or Vietnam. My nod would be to live. I'd probably want to live in Cambodia over Vietnam, but I would choose Thailand over Cambodia as far as lifestyle and just quality of life. You can't really beat Thailand. Probably get out of Bangkok. I like the boring part of Hua Hin, Cha Am. I'm not into Phuket. It's okay. If you go north of Phuket, it's nice. Let me see. If you go up to Chiang Mai, it's great, except for burning season 6 months out of the year. You can't breathe. Udon Thani area is nice if you want to go. If you want to go farm fresh, go up to Udon Thani. It's the place to go. Not into Pattaya, not into Rayong so much. I'm not into Partyville. Bangkok is great. I love Bangkok. It's one of my favorite big cities in the world. I just like the variety of it. I'm looking forward to going to Europe. I want to take in Switzerland. I want to take in parts of Germany. I want to take in the Czech Republic. I want to take in some of the parts of Spain and Greece before I check out. Italy. Want to thoroughly go through Italy. So that's on the docket for when I retire. Just getting out and seeing some parts of the world that I haven't seen. I'd like to get down to Australia again. I had a really good time for the short period of time that I was there. I'd love to take in that country. The southern part of New Zealand I'm more interested in than the northern end. So I'd like to take that in as well. But if you're coming to Asia, you could do a lot worse than Cambodia. So I would highly recommend it. That's all for now. Bye-bye.